Welcome back to Session 4, a Euromotive training tutorial session on basic VANOS1 car commando running point. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. Starting out using a 22mm socket for this particular application for turning the crankshaft. Let's get these engine timing marks in proper position before we start the VANOS removal. Do nothing on this teardown until you have confirmed that the engine's camshaft and crankshaft position have been aligned correctly. And this is where the special tools and all the appropriate tools will play in your favor. Turn the crankshaft pulley clockwise until cylinder 1 intake and exhaust camshafts point to each other at approximately 45-degree angle. Now note, turning the crankshaft counterclockwise, it is acceptable and it will not hurt a thing. This is the idea of getting these intake and exhaust cam lobes at approximately 45-degree position. Oh, and not a bad idea to loosen the spark plugs. This will help relieve the pressures as you are rotating the motor, but don't remove the plugs because you certainly don't want to drop anything down into that motor during your repair. Remember me mentioning the blow out the spark plug area? Should make turning the crank just a bit easier for alignment purposes. You could even remove the spark plugs, but again, I'd advise to cover those holes that go directly into the motor. You drop something down in that engine, you're just going to ruin your day. Might even want to inspect those spark plugs while they're out. Adjust the crankshaft pulley rear camshaft square to be flush with the head surface. Take your time doing this. You really do not want to mess this up. Time is money to us. Now it's time to check your timing marks. You can initially use a mirror. Inspect the TDC timing mark on the engine timing cover and crankshaft harmonic balancer at approximately 11 o'clock position using a mirror first. A tilted view at 11 o'clock position provides correct alignment view. There, a nice close-up shot of the top dead center mark, or OT as it's technically called. You should have everything right where it needs to be to start placing the alignment tools into the place for a nice snug fit. Locate the crankshaft lock hole plug. This is usually located at the engine's right rear area. This is by front orientation, which you can see on this picture. Pry out the plug by inserting a narrow screwdriver into the plug eyelet and pry it out against the engine frame. Insert the narrow end of the screwdriver in the crankshaft lock hole and roughly measure the hole depth. Measurement will provide a reference for the crankshaft lock pin insertion in the next step. Insert the crankshaft lock pin into the crankshaft locking hole. When the lock pin is fully inserted into the crankshaft pulley, it'll be locked in place and won't be able to rotate. Check the crankshaft pulley that it is locked. And note, the crankshaft pulley will have very slight play, some movement a little bit back and forth when it is locked in place. The locking pin may be obstructed by rust or debris, especially in the Rust Belt part of the country. Just pay attention to that. Do not beat this locking pin in. Again, don't beat the locking pin in. You will possibly damage the flywheel. Now it's time to remove the studs at the back of the cylinder head. I'd advise to use a stud puller. There is what I use. Stud pullers are worth their weight in gold. If you manage to break a stud off at the rear of the cylinder head, well, you don't want to do that. So once you have those studs out, you can then install the first section of the camshaft locking tool. Then install the second lock assembly and make sure that they're lined up to the camshaft ends properly. These camshafts are delicate, fragile, and hollow. To put it bluntly, don't break the damn things. These locking tools are aligned with the end of the camshafts. Time to lock them down permanently. I guess this is where that 24mm combo wrench comes in handy to get the cams aligned up for the cam lock tool. Adjust the camshaft to allow a flush seating of this cam lock to the block of the cylinder head. And for fine tuning, rock that wrench back and forth. Get the feeling of that block by hand. Use some finesse. And again, don't be a gorilla. Complete the camshaft lockdown in cured condition. The bracket helps maintain the lock block position and counters block movements. You are now ready and safe to remove and disassemble this VANOS unit in its entirety. Here comes the following steps to get the VANOS removed. We'll start by removing the oil line at the VANOS solenoid. There are 2 crush washers that you will replace when reassembly is to be performed. Those washers get pitched. Remove the engine lift bracket at the VANOS intake solenoid. Remove top and bottom bolts. Then remove the VANOS solenoid electrical connector. Make sure to move the harness out of the way. Make sure to move the harness out of your reassembly way. Move valve cover vent hose and VANOS oil hose to the right side of the oil filter canister to facilitate space for access. Pull up on the solenoid cable to follow to the electrical connector. Press in connector spring clip and pull off the cable connector. This is a picture of the later model version connector, but there is a retaining spring clip. And again, these are plastic, so careful not to break anything. Remove the cable bracket E-clips under the VANOS. Pull off the E-clips to the left side. Just use a medium needle nose plier. Might be a good idea to get a few of these E-clips just in case. Now remember, I'm using the later model engine as an example. The early models, the examples of that are pretty much the same. You get the idea, right? Remove the vacuum pipe and the 2 bracket mounting nuts. Pull off the vacuum pipe from the mounting studs. Pull that vacuum pipe further out and lay it on the thermostat housing and lower radiator hose. Make sure on the side of the vacuum hose to provide that slack to pull forward the vacuum pipe, because this VANOS assembly is going to come forward. Remove the 2 VANOS exhaust sprocket access bolts. Remove the 4 exhaust sprocket mounting bolts. Install the camshaft chain tensioner lock pin. Press down on the tensioner and insert that pin up to the chain. Now, be patient when you're doing this and careful, as the lock pin should be inserted under the chain, as not doing this correctly can inadvertently tension the chain. And I've been there and done that. I even got the t-shirt and the hat. Also, I do not want to talk about the end results if you don't do this right. Only that I had to break my rule about doing things twice unless it feels good. Okay, you have the VANOS sprocket off, the camshafts and the crankshaft in top dead center position, and the timing chain from the intake to exhaust decompressed. Now, loosen the 6 mounting nuts at the front lower half of the VANOS. Remember that on the M52 model engines, the second nut from the left and the first nut from the right were removed previously when removing that vacuum pipe. Cover the AC belt, lower radiator hose to protect from oil leakage. Just throw some towels on it. To prevent oil from making a mess of the belts, install a bag over the VANOS oil feed hole to catch the leaking oil. Tie wrap it in place and tie wrap it out of the way. So at this point in the session, we're going to call it good and start to prepare for the following session on the teardown, resealing, and reassembly of the single VANOS unit. Stay tuned. Car Commando on station and signing off.